So this worksheet is asking you to identify the independent and dependent variables for each situation described. So the bottom four are all fairly similar. And so I'm going to do the first two because they're a little bit different. And then I'll do the third one. And if you see how to do the third one, you should know how to do the rest of them. So your job will be to do the last three. All right, so remember independent, dependent. Independent is related to your x coordinates, dependent related to your y input and output. Another way to think of it is your independent determines your dependent, or you can think of it as your dependent depends on your independent. So however you want to frame that, you have to find the things that fit into that kind of sentence. So here we've got John measures length and width of each side of a rectangle, and he uses those values to calculate the area. So we can say, well, for sure, so this one's a little bit confusing because there are actually three things that are changing in the problem. You ask yourself, what's changing? I've got three things. I've got length and width, and I've got area. But if you can ask yourself, which one of these is dependent? Which one depends on the other ones? Or what's the output? Or what's more like the effect instead of the cause? We've got area is definitely the dependent. And what area depends on is the length and the width. So in this case, we've got area being dependent on two different things that are changing. And those are the independent. Another way to say that is length and width determine the area. Here, it's not a word problem. So the big thing you need to know with this one is just that your x is the independent and your y is the dependent. On this one, David is measuring how many inches his tomato plant grows every week. So this is just more straightforward, like the next three should be. A word problem with two things that are changing. Here we've got inches of growth, and that is changing every week. So now we just have to decide, is it that the growth determines the weeks or the weeks determines the growth? So weeks definitely determine the growth. So weeks is independent. The inches of growth are the dependent. Another way to say that is inches of growth depend on the weeks passing. Or you can kind of think of this as the cause and this is the effect, whichever one of those ways works. So you do the last three.